More fire, boom, 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 shots. You guys, y'all, for real, this is the most long-awaited episode that low-key we always do. So our guest today, what'd you say?
This is going to be a normal conversation then.
Exactly. Listen, y'all, I'm going to do, a quick intro to the episode, and then I'm going to have her introduce herself. But y'all, this is my very best friend in the entire world. This is my college roommate, met the first day of undergrad in the FLC at Georgia State. FLC is a freshman learning community. So we was green beyond green, neon green. In navigating this world when we met. I'm so happy, so very happy to have my best friend on this episode today. We are going to be talking to I was about to say full government, but let me cut the middle name out. Miss Tnisha Poe. Yeah. We are talking, yay, my bad. Yeah, I'm so hyped. We're talking.
Welcome. Thank you.
I appreciate you. We're going to be talking about raising resilient children today. We're going to be talking about maybe a little bit about our friendship, that goes into raising this child, because that's my goddaughter. Yes. We're going to talk a little bit about culturally appropriate parenting practices. So she Black.
Amen.
Clark is Black. Right. And really, we're just going to talk about, families and how to raise a resilient, strong, amazing, wonderful child. We're going to introduce Clark here shortly, too. So today, we just have those few key objectives. And I want you guys, let's just start. Let me have Tnisha speak up and introduce herself real quick. Tell everyone who you are, where you from, what you do, how you feel. What's up?
Hello, world. My name is Tnisha Poe. I am originally from Columbus, Georgia, but I've lived in Atlanta all of my adult life. But born and raised in Columbus, moved to Atlanta for school. Just a brief, description of myself, or how I would describe myself. I am a Black woman, a mom, a daughter, a sister, a partner, a film and TV show fanatic. I am a friend, someone who is a committed champion of love. I'm a runner, a home cook, a reader. And I really pride myself on being someone who makes space for everyone, but especially those who feel like, their place is only, on the margins. I'm someone who wants freedom for us all. I'm generous with my love, but also discerning, and I am always leading with love. Educationally, I am a graduate of the real GSU, Georgia State University.
You stay?
I have my bachelor's in psychology from Georgia State, and professionally, I am currently working in the learning and development space for licensed medical professionals, and I am a new baby business owner. So, yes.
Come on, Southern Belle TP.
All the things. So, yes.
Listen, we love her. Yes, so she is from Columbus. I just shouted out her old AOL username, Southern Belle TP. That's when
right. That was back in the day.
We was back on Black Planet. Yes. But yes, also a lover of all, an avid cook, y'all.
Yes.
Check out Poe Plated on all platforms. Cookbook coming out, cooking lessons coming out.
Yes.
We love Miss Tnisha.
I love you too.
So we start off with something a little corny, which I love. I love all things corny. Like I said, we have a tight hour, so we're just gonna do one round of the Song Association Challenge. You know how to play that?
You play you say a word, and you say a word and I sing the song or something?
Exactly. But with this, you say a word, or I'm gonna say a word, and then you can say a word. So it's not just you being put on the spot.
Oh my God.
So you get 10 seconds.
I am not a singer.
You're not a singer, but you love music. So I feel like we're going to smash this. I feel like this is going to be easy for you. Okay. So the word only has to be either in the title or the lyric. So it doesn't have to be, like if I say baby, it don't have to be baby, baby, baby. Right? It could just be something that say baby in the lyrics of the song.
Okay.
Okay, so you want to say a word or you want to sing first?
Give me a word first.
Let me get your words to say. Get the pressure over with.
Yes.
Um, I'm looking at my bookshelf. Oh, you know what? Because we're talking about resilient kids,
Oh my
I'm gonna say the word, and let me make sure I got a song. I'm gonna say the word strong.
Oh my
Is
goodness.
that hard?
Strong is hard. Oh wow. I can't think of anything.
You
Strong.
got 2 seconds. I went neo soul. Yeah, I went kind of.
Yeah, strong is
And do they even say that song? That word in this song? I'm thinking strong brother, black, or whatever that song is.
yeah, you on music soul child. You
Okay,
going
okay, exactly. I knew it was
on
somebody.
phone.
Your music tastes are too
And
bad.
that was gonna be like a super easy word, like love. Like that was gonna be my word. Like, okay,
Oh no, give me something a little harder than that. We all know love.
ooh, freedom.
Freedom, freedom, I can't breathe. Freedom, cut me loose.
I knew you were gonna pick that one because that would have been mine. That would have been mine. That would have been
Oh, listen. We should just key on an episode and only do Beyonce songs because
no for real.
we could do that. We both certified Beehive members. So yeah, I'm gonna bring you back. We're gonna run that one back.
Yes.
Okay, that was cute. So yes, let's jump into the actual episode, y'all. We want to, like I said, talk about raising resilient children. Um, yeah, we're going to introduce Clark. We're going to talk about Clark here shortly, but let's talk about the very beginning. So, a part of raising resilient children is, right, like having a healthy child. And you have a pretty wild birth story, so you can start from there. Give me your origin story. Tell me about, how you
Ooh.
became a mom, what your early months were like, any support that you had, just anything that sticks out.
So a man and a woman come together.
Not the birds and the bees, okay?
No, so yeah, my birthing story is actually very unique and unusual. Some would say I found out that I was pregnant very far along within my pregnancy. I was 8 months. So a little backstory to that. Just to share a little bit of like small medical history. When I was 17, I was diagnosed with polycystic ovarian syndrome, which is commonly known as PCOS. Women have fertility issues, infrequent periods, a lot of hair growth, a lot of hormonal things that are tied to PCOS. And so from like 17 until like my early 20s, I would have irregular cycles. And so for me to not have a cycle was like normal. I could go, months and months and months without having a cycle, which is, a key indicator of pregnancy for a lot of women. But for me, it was like, oh, okay, I'm not getting my period. I'm just not getting my period. So I found out I was pregnant when I was, like I said, far along within my pregnancy. I was 8 months, and that completely, transformed my life. I was in the thick of, undergrad and
How
all
old
of
are you?
so
How old are you?
I was 22 when I got pregnant.
Okay, good age, good age. Okay, right.
So yeah, not a a teen mom, but very much still a young mom.
Yeah, yeah.
In the prime early stages of my 20s. So yeah, and so I was concerned about, Clark being a healthy baby because I'm like, oh my God, I haven't been going to the doctor. I wasn't getting checkups. I wasn't on any type of prenatal. So I'm like, I'm still trying to push my way through the last leg of undergrad and I'm eating whatever, I can scrounge up for that day. And so I'm like, oh my God, what if, something's wrong with her or she's not healthy? I felt like I would take that, weight on as blaming myself. But she was perfectly healthy, 10 fingers, 10 toes, a little small, but that's to be expected. But she was perfectly healthy and that is my story.
Yeah. I remember
Yeah,
we picked her up and went to the nail salon or something just to show my mom, like, look, we got a baby.
right.
And she was so perfect. But yeah, even about your origin story, right? Like, as we know about Black women, it's actually really good that you got diagnosed with PCOS. Like, a lot of people just go without being diagnosed. And,
Mhm.
even the maternal mortality rate, like, you couldn't have made it. So, we are so lucky to have
Absolutely.
you and to have
Yes.
Clark and to have her be so beautiful and healthy and strong and smart.
Yes, she
So,
is.
how did you go from, 1 month to prepare for a kid while still in college to having a baby? And then what were the early months or years like
Mm.
with a newborn?
Yes, so in the, the early stages of being a mother, as soon as I, found out I was pregnant, my support system completely kicked in 100%. My family, my mother, specifically, was very, very hands on. She was super happy. I was in complete shock, but my mom was very happy for me and very happy to, have a grandchild coming. And so she was super supportive. Anything I needed, my mom was very much there for me. My village was there for me in general. I had to, I did a hardship withdrawal from school. Georgia State was very understanding of my circumstance. I provided them with all the documentation that they needed, and I was able to do a hardship withdrawal. And eventually I went back and got my degree after a couple months off, but they allowed me to do that. So that was, very important and supportive of, me just taking a break to, reorient myself in my life for this major life change. So the first couple of months were, you know, an adjustment for sure. My mom helped me with Clark for the first 9 or 10 months or so of her life. She lived with my mom in Columbus so that I could, wrap up school and find a place and figure out what I was going to do and get everything in order because I was not prepared to have a kid, to have a child. So that gave me time. So Clark was with my mom and she was there, and my mom is great and helped and took care of her. And I would go home and visit. And then after a while, my mom was like, it's your turn.
Go get your baby girl.
Come get your child. Love her, love her. But the only way to be a mom is to be a mama.
Hmm.
And to jump right into that. And so I was very thankful for the time that she allowed me to, like I said, reorient my life and, have her support.
Yeah. And you know what? Even when I think back, right, like we stayed super close this entire time. I don't remember you taking that hardship withdrawal. And I
Mm-hmm.
know that a lot of our listeners are college students. They're people who want to go on to grad school, people who think, right, that changes to life's plan are just disruptions and they can never come back. So how did you
Right.
know that you could take that withdrawal? Did you talk to an advisor?
So
Did you?
I worked on campus already. So I was
Okay.
very familiar with all the different offices. And, one of my managers was like, hey, you can take time off and just come back, but I had to show them like, hey, I have documentation from my doctor. I have, all the things I had to show them. And, it was a couple weeks and they granted me the hardship withdrawal for me to, take some time off. But it was someone else bringing it to my awareness because I'm thinking, oh my God, I have to drop out of school. Like, it's just going to be so much. I'm going to have to leave and go back home. Like, it was a lot of different thoughts. So just having someone else be a resource to let me know, like, hey, you do have options available. And yeah, that was extremely helpful.
Wow, and I know, right? Like one of the things that even this year we talked to Clark about when she she felt like she was in class with some bad kids, and we told her if you want to switch class, you need to go talk to an administrator,
Yes,
and that's
yes.
how she was able to make that happen. But absolutely, even in college, if you feel like I'm going through something, don't just not show up to class and fail the class, right? Who can you talk to, whether
Mhm.
that be your teacher, an advisor, an academic officer, somebody who can help advocate for you to where, like you're saying, you could take that hardship withdrawal. That is a great part of your testimony. That, like I said, even I like thinking back, I'm like, nah, she had it all along. So that is an awesome experience that you were able
Yes.
to advocate for yourself. First of all, speak up.
Mhm.
We know as strong Black women, we don't always speak up.
Absolutely.
So speaking
Absolutely.
up, asking for help, and then following up on those recommendations was great.
Yes. Yes.
So tell me about 9 months later, now you got a baby and she looking at you like mama, mama, mama.
Yeah.
Tell me about those kind of we could say early years, because like I said, we got a tight hour
Mhm.
today. So tell me about those
Mhm.
early years. One thing I wanna say selfishly is that I remember one time I was watching Clark with my mom, of course, because we're the real adults. So I was watching Clark with my mom, and I was like, Clark, go get your stuff together. Your mom's about to come get you. And when I tell you this little baby, she was maybe 1.5, waddled over to her stuff and started folding her clothes like 4-point folds. I said, wait a minute. This baby is different. This baby is not the same as these other kids I done had and had to watch. Mind you, I've been working in childcare my whole life. So how did you raise, we'll start
Mhm.
with that, somebody who is just attentive, who's a good citizen, who is polite and smart and sweet? How did you
Yeah.
do that?
So yeah, so when I found out that I was a mom, I knew kind of just my personality. I knew what kind of mom I wanted to be, as someone who is very structured and like things in place and organized and a prepared person. Sometimes a child can kind of rattle that, right? Because children are just all over the place. But maintain that even with the child, there was going to be structure. I was not going to fall victim to, just stuff being everywhere. And, so I think
Structure. Okay. Hashtag
yeah,
structure, y'all. Yeah.
yes, from the time she was born, I was very much like, I want this child to understand that she's a person. I'm going to always treat her like a person. I don't look at her as a mini version of me. I look at her as her own individualized self. And because that's how I look at myself. And I'm someone who has boundaries. And even with the child, I will, stress those boundaries with her. Like, yes, you can play with your toys and have toys, play with them openly and freely, but within your playroom. Or, once you've played with them, it's time to clean up. We're going to put everything back where it was. I can come help you if you need help, or if she was with her father or any one of our close family and friends. Like, we will help you. We can make it like a team effort. So she was just very much from the beginning. She saw that I was someone who enforced my boundaries and my space and taking care of my things. And I think that she began to mirror that very early on as a child. And I just always look
Wow.
at her as a human, like that's how I treat her. So yeah, it
As
was it
her
was
own
very easy
human.
for me because that's how I am with most people. Like, I look at people as human beings who have all type of moods, emotions, problems, anything, like, so I've always treated her that way from the very beginning.
Wow,
Because
you just said so much that is so necessary. I know that I used to, jokingly describe my little naked wild baby running around like the little brother off Wild Thornberries. But now, oh, y'all, I don't even know if I told the podcast. I'm like 9 months pregnant myself. So I'm thinking about, right, like right? Having a podcast, baby, y'all. But right, like I'm having to really be intentional about thinking about the type of child that I want to raise, which is a part of selfishly why I wanted to have this
Mhm.
conversation in addition to all the conversations we've already had. But that's so important, right? Like being intentional about the type of child you want to raise, being intentional about treating them as their own individual person, letting them grow into
Mhm.
who they are. And then you said something huge about not only boundaries, but modeling them for yourself. So these are
Yes.
my boundaries and my expectations.
Yes.
But also, right, like how do you teach a young child to have their own boundaries? And what are some early boundaries that you remember Clark having or that you had to model for her?
So some boundaries that I think that she learned early on from me would be like, so some people would say when Clark was much younger, I had like a detached parenting style, which I don't believe, but maybe that could be the word that could be used. So I was very much like, this is mommy's room. You know, like you can come in here, but you know, this is where mommy sleeps. This is where mommy decompresses from the day, and this is my space. So I never like she never really like slept in the bed with me unless she was sick, or you know, just, oh mom, can I sleep in the bed with you? Like, of course I would never turn her down. But just modeling to her like it's okay, it's not selfish, it's not self-centered to be like, you know, and I express to her even now, sometimes at 14, I tell her, you know, if I'm having a bad day, I'm like, today has not been such a good day. And it's not anything that you did. Of course not. But like when we get home, I may need an hour. You know, like I completely communicate with her. I think that's a huge part of it too, from a very young age. I didn't do much baby talk. I am a direct communicator. So I was very much like, okay, how do you feel today? And this is how I feel today. And you fail, and how does that make you feel? Or this, you know, you watch this cartoon on TV. How did you know, like, what are you learning from this? So I gave her room to voice herself, as well as me being a model for that, and also voicing myself as well. So I think that was very important and integral for her to, you know, just be the well-rounded person that she has grown to be, and you know, self-sufficient. And because I tell her all the time, I'm like, one thing I want you to like, I really wanted to make sure that I raised a self-sufficient child, but who always knew that yes, I'm able to do these things myself and try them out, but I also have like so many people around me who are holding me up, who are supporting me, who are here as resources, who I can talk to, who I'm not afraid of, who are more than willing to help guide me along whatever path I decide to go on.
That's so important. That's so important. So that balance between knowing I can do it and having the efficacy or the confidence in myself and the opportunity, right? So you weren't hovering, you didn't talk about that, right? Like in terms of I'm
Mm-hmm.
gonna do
Mm-hmm.
everything for you, let mommy take care of that. But
And that took a
self-sufficiency,
lot of restraint.
yeah, yeah.
Be in control, to not hover is and I'm not perfect. There have been many moments where I'm like, okay, you're hovering, or
Girl, let me do it. Right.
let me do it, or you're being too strict, or you know, like there have been, because I am very much a stickler for a lot of things. So I have had many countless moments of where I am intelligent enough when it comes to emotions to recognize when I'm doing that. And so I'm like, you know, step back, don't go so hard, don't be so strict about this, like it's okay, breathe.
Ooh, breathe, breathe. That's
So
so huge.
yeah,
Yeah.
you have to have a ton, oh my God, patience. Oh my goodness.
Okay.
And
So
I
you
thought of
mentioned
myself as a patient person, but then you have a child and you're like, no, you really
they're
got.
gonna try you at every corner. Even the best child will try you, is
Oh,
what
absolutely. I tell
I'm
people all the
realizing.
time, Clark is, I couldn't have prayed for a better child. Like she has
Mhm.
not given me any issues whatsoever. But even within that, you still have to have patience.
Yeah. So talk a little bit about emotion regulation. So you said some things that you model for her in terms of I might need an hour or so to unwind
Mhm,
after I get home or after I pick you up from school. You just mentioned needing to take a breath. That's so
mhm,
important.
mhm,
One of the things that we talk about in terms of emotion regulation is like body scanning. So
mhm,
where are you feeling your emotions in your body? You know,
mhm.
some kids will have stomach aches when they don't want to go to school
Yeah,
because there's something that they're stressing about at
yeah.
school. How have you modeled that for her? Do you have any concrete examples of kind of that emotion regulation or even her emotional development that you can share?
So as you mentioned before, like a lot of things that kids experience and just humans in general, it shows up, you know, in the body. So there have been moments, especially as Clark has gotten older and school has become a little bit more strenuous. She has, you know, testing that she has to do now, and state tests and all of those standardized things that she's now doing. And she is a, you know, high achieving person and student. And so she gets nervous. And so I've seen in her within, you know, the past couple years where it's like, oh, I have this huge test coming up. And the day before, or, you know, she's studying for or trying to prepare for it, she'll get headaches. all those type of things. And so I've told her, if you need to take a break, or if we need to go get some ice cream real quick, or take a walk, or whatever needs to be done, we can sit out, sit in the living room and watch a television show, one of your favorite shows, or a movie, because I model that, right? So for me, I've been working all day. I feel frazzled. I'm going to go for a run. Like I mentioned, I'm a runner. I'm going to go for a run, or I'll go to the gym, or I also go on vacations. I go on a lot of vacations, with her, without her. So she knows, like, hey, my mom loves me, but my mom also needs time to herself. And I tell her all the time, you will need time to yourself away from me. As much as we love each other, there are very few people on earth that I want to be around every single day, every single second of that day.
Yeah.
So she's able to see, like, yes, there's still a huge capacity for love, and that's very present. And I acknowledge her emotions. I ask her about her emotions all the time, asking her, how did that make you feel? Or outside of, like, how was your day? Because most kids, especially teenagers, are going to say it was fine.
Right.
Not going to really give you a lot, so you kind of have to dig deeper into that, and then those emotions and those feelings will start to come out. And I ask her all the time, like, do you trust me? Do you feel safe with me? That's very important too.
Wow. Yeah.
Especially as kids get older, it's important across the board. But raising a teenager now, I want her to feel like I am someone that she can come to and talk to and be safe around, because I allow her to see me be human. She's seen me cry. She's seen me be upset. She's, so she understands that I can be those things too, but there's a way of handling those things. Like when I'm angry, I'm not fussing and yelling, and there are healthy ways of handling all type of emotions that I'm feeling, and I make space for her to be those things, because she makes space for me to be those things. So it's a mutual relationship between parent and child.
I like that you said that it's a relationship that you guys have, because I certainly see that even when I spend time with you guys. Like, I'll come over and we'll spend, 20 something minutes together in the living room, and then it's like, all right, baby, me and mama gotta talk. And we set those appropriate boundaries. And of course, if it starts getting juicy, she's gonna come back out and try to sit down silently and learn from us as well.
And that's how I was raised too.
Yeah.
My mom is someone who always, even now, is someone, I get that from her, who was constantly around other people, especially other women. So it was always, girl talk and girl time, and like, that's just how I was raised around that. But at a certain time, it was like, hey, this conversation may not be appropriate for your child to hear, so can you give us, like, we're not kicking you out, we love you, love having your presence around, but this boundary that we're setting is just strictly for adults right now. So once we're done kikiing, you can come on back and join us, and everything will be fine. So
yeah. I love that. And that separation doesn't cause an actual separation in your relationship, because like you said, it's just a healthy boundary.
Right. We're not like, get out, like it's
Right.
not that type of language being used and feeling at all. So yeah.
Yeah. So you talked about, testing becoming more difficult. I want to switch and talk a little bit about kind of just overall resilience. So, for our audience members, resilience is really just the ability to bounce back after you have any life challenges. It's to really recover from those setbacks that happen. And, girl, we both know, right? Like, we deal with things every day, and it's just like, all right, well, we just got to roll with the punches. I know that we rely on, like, spirituality. We rely on each other. We might need a good meal. I love that you just talked about a variety of things, like taking a walk, having some ice cream, watching TV, really sitting down and talking about the root of the issue. So for Clark specifically, outside of kind of school, or even within school, so let me say outside of testing, right? What sorts of other stressors does, good goodness, an actual teenager, right? Like, what is she dealing with, and how do you help her overcome any of those setbacks or challenges in a way that allows her to build up that confidence in her ability to overcome them herself?
I think a lot of stressors that I've noticed is in the context of like identity. So like kids are most even most of us are it takes a like we're figuring out who we are,
Mhm.
what we stand for, and all of those things change throughout our lifetime. And so I see some of those stressors coming up for her and just figuring out, small things like how she wants to wear her hair, what's her style when it comes to like clothes, the things that she stands for in terms of like integrity and knowing what's right and wrong. And those stressors can just become, exacerbated the older she gets because now you have outside influences telling you how you should be, how you should dress, what's right, what's wrong. They're pressuring you, all of those different type of things, which is why we've set a boundary for her, like, no social media until a certain age, because we want you to be in
Right.
a, we want you to be in a cognitive and emotional state where you're able to not let so much influence who you are in your identity. Because even as an adult, I can be on Instagram and I'm influenced and I'm
Right.
36.
Right.
So
Yeah.
I'm like, it's much harder. And so I feel like those, outside societal stressors and like just identity development, all of those things can weigh is what I've seen weigh, a little bit more heavily on her as she's gotten older. That's
Yeah.
outside of school and educational things.
Yeah, and I love that you said that as well, that, even as you're understanding and growing to know yourself, also know that that could change. That could be totally different tomorrow,
Hmm.
right? Like the type of music you listen to. I love that you mentioned hair. I know for Black girls in particular, hair is a huge thing.
Yes.
We focus on racial socialization and even thinking about the media, right? Like you need to be able to, if you're looking at images in the media, also know that if the way you look or the way you prefer your hair is drastically different from that, it's okay
Hmm.
as well, and you don't have to conform to that. So I think that
Yes.
that's
Tell her
huge.
that all the time. And I also let her know, hey, you have the right to change your mind.
Mhm.
And I tell her all the time, your no is your no because my no is my no. I don't have to explain it. That's a full sentence. So if you say, I mean, you can't say no to, chores. But if you say, no to, I don't agree with that, or no, I don't want to do that, then,
Mhm.
her no is her no. And I 100% back her in whatever she decides for herself. She has autonomy, she has a voice, and I allow her to use that. I don't stifle it. Granted, she's very
Wow.
respectful. She's not a disrespectful child. So if there was a case where it was something like that going on, okay, let's have a conversation about that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't. She has a voice. I want her to use it because I wasn't particularly raised to use my voice. I was raised,
Mhm.
only girl, be quiet, don't be seen, or if you are seen, make it quick.
And
If you are,
certainly don't push back, right?
yeah,
Like,
never,
no.
never push back ever. Oh my God. So that was
Yeah.
never allowed.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Girl, I'm over here. First time I say no, it's like I never said
Right.
yes. But that is
Right.
so important, right? Like if she's able to tell you no, then
Mhm.
certainly if a little boy trying to kiss her and the answer is no, she can stand firmly in that no. So I think that
Absolutely.
hopefully that hasn't happened yet. It's gonna come at some point. But right, like when the time for relationship comes, I think that what you're talking about now, all of these things, right? Like that's the birds and the bees. That's the type of socialization
Mhm.
that really prepares kiddos to be able to not only choose healthy partners, but girl, we know these boys be faking and lying. So if it comes
Right.
to where, right, like what do you do if you really like a boy and he still wants to do something that you're not ready for? Are you able to
Mhm.
say no in those
Mhm.
instances? And
And
certainly I think that
stand strong in that no, because some of them will try to manipulate and convince you of anything. It's just even friends can do that. It's not even outside of like, relationship aspect. Like friends could make you, oh Clark, sneak out. We're gonna do this, or like whatever. It could be all type of
yeah,
pressures. If you are like, my no is my no, and I tell her all the time, I don't care if people call you lame, stuck up, whatever, because you know how kids, they can go in sometimes.
Mhm, mhm,
I'm like,
mhm.
it doesn't, they don't
I'll be that. I'll be that.
be that. They don't dictate who you are. You dictate who you are. And
Yeah.
stand firm in that. Like that self-awareness has to be there. It has to
Yeah.
be.
That's
Otherwise,
so
people are going to
important.
sway you and pull you in a million different directions.
Yeah. And I keep listening, y'all. Let me cover up her face to protect her young identity. But I keep looking at this picture of my little baby, like, oh my God, Clark, please don't let these boys take advantage of you. But you're absolutely right in that let me say we, right? Like we have been really intentional about making sure that she is able to really appreciate herself and love herself and have that self-esteem in a way to where she's not, seeking that validation from anyone, whether that be boy or girl, in terms of boyfriend or even, girl friendship groups.
Mm-hmm.
And I see her in her room talking to her friends all the time now, so I know that she's able to form those relationships healthily. And I
Yes.
think that definitely is a matter of, not just following the crowd and trying to fit in, but really standing in who you are and really
Mm-hmm.
being proud of that and letting people love you for that or not, and
Or
being
not.
okay with that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes. Yes. I'm like, the people who will stick around and the people who will understand are the people who need to be there. Anyone else who's no one you I tell all the time, no one you love is going to make you, or no one who loves you is
Right.
going to make you do anything that you do not want to do.
Right.
Like, and if they are, that's not love, that's not consideration of you and your
Right.
boundaries. Like, yeah, no.
Right. And even with that, right? Like I like that you said that she's able to change her mind, right? Like you're able to like one thing today and then tomorrow
Mm-hmm.
decide, that maybe wasn't the best decision for me. And
Yep.
that's so important. I know even with us in our relationship, look, we're about to come up on 20 years, which is
Right.
ridiculous. We're about to
Right.
come up on 20 years, but that's to say, like, I've seen so many different versions of you, and you've seen so many different versions of me, and she's seen our
Mm-hmm.
relationship grow in that way as well. And I think that that's so important to also model, right? That we can change and we do grow and we love each
Yeah.
other through that. And as well as her, if she come to us tomorrow with some huge identity change, she's gonna be like, all right, baby girl, like
Yeah.
let me talk to him, let me meet him, whatever that fill in the blank is.
Yeah. I tell her all the time, you're not stuck. Don't ever feel like you're stuck anywhere. And if she knows she has plenty of resources and people, like if you can't come to me or if you don't feel comfortable coming to me, I'm not going to take offense to that. But there's a long list of
Yeah.
people that you can reach out to, and they may come and tell me if it's something that I need to know about. But within that space of those people, it'll be just there with y'all. I just want you to have
Wow.
somewhere that you can go that's healthy. You're going to receive good advice. They love you. You love them. They're not going to put you in any type of crazy situations. You have
Yeah.
those people there.
That's so important. We talk about that even right with healthy adult relationships and unhealthy relationships. Like, what do you do if you all of a sudden find yourself in something that's unhealthy? Who's a part of that safety place?
Mm-hmm.
Who's a part of that, support system who you can go to?
Mm-hmm.
Um, let's switch the gears a little bit. So one thing that we of course focus on Black and Empower podcast is right, like race, racism, racial stressors.
Yes.
Talk to me about like the diversity in her school. Did she deal with racism? Has she seen that, whether that be in person or like, I know she's not on social media, but like the news, has she talked to you about racism at all at this age?
We have had talks about racism. Yes. I'll just go back to the original question. So her school demographic is probably 98% African American Black students.
Mm-hmm.
She's in a charter school program, and so she's been there for elementary school. Now she's in middle school. And throughout that entire time, most of the children have been African American, as I said. Now, we live in a neighborhood that has, changed a lot throughout this time and has become more, gentrified and all of those things happening. And
Mm-hmm.
so we have noticed that because there are other, populations moving into the neighborhood, that the schools student body has now begun to change too. So we see, a couple of, other races in the school, none. And I asked her before, I'm like, are there any, white kids or kids from other races in your grade? She's like, no. So
Wow.
her
Yeah.
8th grade class, there are no students from, and she's never been in a class that had other races
Wow.
in it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So all she pretty much knows is Black people.
Yeah.
Some of her teachers, over the years, but even that is very rare. Most of the teachers at her school are also Black. So we live in a Black neighborhood. I'm Black. I have Black friends. Like our family is
Mhm.
Black. Like, so she's very like, I only know pretty much Black people, but she has, she hasn't experienced racism directly. I've asked her that question as well, a couple months ago. She has not. But she's seen it, on the news and, world events that have been going on. And we've had to like sit down and talk with her about like what this means, why people, even though we don't have an answer most of the time for why people do the things they do. But it's just, we let her know it's not anything that you're doing. It's simply the color of your skin or, like things of that nature, just because we can avoid social media. We cannot avoid the news.
Mhm.
So,
Mhm.
and that's constant, that she's just going to be aware of that as things happen. And so we just take those opportunities to sit with her and let her know, like, you're not bad because you're Black. These things are happening to certain demographics of people because of X, Y, and Z. And just really explaining to her what's going on.
Yeah, yeah. I think that explanation is really important in terms of just preparing her for the real world, right? Like, who knows what college she's gonna go to, even if she
Mhm.
goes to HBCU, who knows what her first job is gonna be
Yeah.
like. Like you
Yeah.
said, who knows what she's seeing on the news and the media, and that's to say, right, like you can't internalize any of those negative messages. So it's
Mhm.
great that you're, pumping her up with those positive messages just in case, right? To just start, we call that prep for bias, right? But just to
Yeah.
get her prepared so she doesn't go into the world and get shocked when she's like, wait, some white people don't like me because I'm not white. So,
Especially, next year she's going into high school, and the high school that she will more than likely be attending is not all Black
okay,
people.
okay.
So that will be an adjustment for sure. And so just preparing her for that, preparing, myself for that. Because what if she's like, oh, well, I want to have a sleepover, or I want to go to a sleepover, and it's not a Black person's house. Like we haven't experienced that yet, so we're learning as we're going too. Like, oh, how will we handle that? How will like what would that look like for us? Because we've only had to. Her peer group has only been African American Black kids, so.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, so even within that, right? Like, what about colorism? Has she talked at all about that, or have you seen that at school? And how do you guys deal with so?
I She has never mentioned anything about colorism before. Like she understands, like, light skin, dark skin, like she knows what that means, but her friends are like across the spectrum of
Okay.
Black girls and Black boys. So I've never heard her say, or heard any of her friends say, or anyone at the school when I've been there, I've never seen anyone be like, back in our day, it was like if you was dark skinned, they was calling you all types of stuff, just going crazy. I haven't seen much of that, but I
Mhm,
also
mhm.
think it's because like her generation is a lot different. So, and they have a lot more like acceptance within their generation. So like she will see things on YouTube. She does watch YouTube, and it's like,
Mhm.
makeup for dark skinned girls, or you know what I mean? So it's more like,
Right,
oh,
pride in what you look
yeah,
like.
it's a lot
Right.
of pride in like what I look like. No one is, calling her out of her name or just crazy
Yeah.
things, all of that. Or, no one is really saying anything about like, light skinned girls or anything like that. Not to my understanding. I will
Mhm.
say she's, certain things when it comes to hair, because but she's like, oh, I want my hair like she'll show me like a YouTube video, and I'm like, ooh, baby. Like that person's hair texture is different than what we have. Um,
Right, 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 right. So hair
and so I'm like,
typing and learning how to do
yeah,
your hair. Okay,
and
yeah.
so and most of the time it's lighter skinned girls who have, that she will show me they have like the looser curls, or they have super long hair, or they're able to do different styles with their hair. Then it's like, your hair, we can achieve that style, but we may need to do X, Y, and Z. We may need to, she's old enough now where she can do like extension ponytails, or, long braids and things of that nature. I'm like, yes, achievable, but that's not how our hair is growing out of our heads. So she learned, a couple years ago about just like the different hair textures. And like I said, that is linked sometimes to colorism as well.
Sure.
But we haven't directly had any like major interactions with colorism.
Sure, yeah. And when we went to the Renaissance film, I meant to comment on that because she had a hairstyle that I used to wear back in the day, like the little braid crown. I said, okay, Clyde. Yeah, so that is one thing that that we do that I think is important for parents, for members of our support system to do, is just to hype them up, right? Just to let them know, like, I love your hair, I love your texture, or I love that style, or oh, girl, did you try something new?
Yeah.
But I do think that, like you said, YouTube is a huge resource, right? Like once you get into either following somebody who has a similar, hair texture, or wears their hair like you want to wear it, like that is so good to find your community. So that's
my thing too. Like, YouTube was my thing for many, many years. YouTube is still my thing. I love YouTube. But at a certain point, I'm like, I have to watch women who look like me. Like, I'm sorry. Like, I understand that this hair care product may be in style, but you don't have the same hair texture as me, so that may not work for me. Or, you know what I mean? Like, just seeing people do their day-to-day things, I'm like, I want to look at people who look like me, and when they're doing their makeup, I'm not going to watch. I may watch someone do their makeup who's lighter than me or darker than me to learn technique, right? But like, I'm not using the same products as them. So
Right. That's so important. Okay. Yeah, I need to get back on my YouTube game because I do remember, like, when I had my loose natural, I was all about YouTube style. But once I got locked, I just stopped. I haven't styled my hair. I might do a braid out. But you're right in that YouTube is a great resource for caregivers and for kids. And it is something, right? Like, y'all can pull it up on the TV and watch it together now because we got smart TVs.
Yep.
So that's a great way to bond and to get to know each other and to spend time together. So any other strategies that you have that you want to share with the audience, just in general, about, just overcoming stressors, being confident in yourself, just being resilient for, let's say, teenagers, because we there now, Lord.
Yeah, I think it's important, a key piece is to let them know, like, let your children know that they are important. Like, I know that people have like, okay, children only should be in certain spaces, or people should only, you should only talk during this time. And yes, there are, like, even in the Beyonce movie, like there's a part where Blue is saying, no, don't take out that song. Like, and Beyonce like tells her, hey, calm down.
Don't interrupt people while they're talking.
Yeah, and she gave her a reason. I'm giving you a reason as to, yes, I'm not going to tell you to shut up. Blue voiced what she wanted to say. No one told her to be quiet. Beyonce was just like, like, hey, we were talking and you kind of interjected yourself, and, it's not polite or nice or respectful to cut people off. And that's a very real moment. And she was calm in her voice with her. She wasn't yelling. I think it's very important to let your child know that builds up their resilience 100% when they feel like they don't have to be in a corner and shrink themselves or, not have a voice. And I tell Clark that all the time. You have
a voice. Diva? Because I remember her saying, right, like, we're listening to your opinion and that's important, but don't interrupt. So it was very much a duality of, right, like, this is the boundary and how you communicate, and know that we do value. And I bet you she kept that song in. So that is that is a really good point. So that balance of your voice matters, and this is how you need to be respectful as well.
Yeah, it's like you can say, and I tell her all the time, like, don't say whatever you want to say, right? Because like no one should do that. Adults shouldn't say whatever they want to say. People should have a level of self-control with their thoughts and their tongue and their mouth. Like don't say whatever you want to say, but you do have a voice. And if you feel like something is important, you can say that in a healthy and respectful way. Now, that may not be, the answer might still be no, like your mom and dad or your parent or whoever might still say no, but you understand, like, at least I could say that and I'm not scared to say that around them. Like I never
Right.
want my child to be
Woo.
like
Yeah.
afraid of me. And I know old school parents are like, no, I'm putting
Yeah.
God in my child. And I'm like, no, 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 no. And I say all the time, I've said this often to people, like, I look at my child. Yes, I'm her mother. I get that, but we are friends. She is my friend, and
Mm-hmm.
it is an honor to be
And
her
that's
friend
okay.
because
Yeah.
she's a great
Yeah.
person. Like she's a great person. Why
Yeah.
wouldn't I want to be someone that she feels comfortable with? And you know what I mean? Like I'm not saying I'm her friend where I'm taking her along with me while I do adult things. No, like there's boundaries within that, but she is my friend and I am her friend. And I think that builds a
And
lot
she
of
can confide
resilience.
in you.
That builds a lot of resilience in her to know,
Mm-hmm.
like, yeah, I can stand on my own, but like, and I can say what I want to say, but if it falls flat, I'm still loved. If it doesn't go my way, it's okay. So yeah, those are
Yeah.
things that I definitely try to instill in her. And I think we've done a good job of that.
Yeah. You have. Let me tell you one thing, and I think it's those, let me not say those kids who were raised in the my no is no and you can't ask certain questions, but
Mhm.
I know for a fact Clark is never going to be afraid to ask for a raise. She's
Right.
never going to be afraid to negotiate a good position. Clark, I asked her to do something for me one time recently before my baby shower. She came in my office and she did exactly what I asked. And when she came back in the bathroom, she was like, I see you got some iPads in there. What's up? Let me get one of them iPads. And I was like, you know what? I actually appreciate the fact that you asked me that question because I mean you're not scared to ask for anything that you want.
Yes.
But I need those for data collection, right? Like
Right.
I want her to not be afraid to ask for anything, whether that be a raise, a promotion, a better position, a whole new job. Like that's a part of how you're raising her. So I really appreciate you
Yeah.
saying
And I've
that.
and I've told her, like, just because you ask for something doesn't mean that the answer is going to be yes. Sometimes the answer is going to be no, and that is okay. You're not above hearing a no. Love you. I think you're great,
Right.
but you're not above hearing a no. You know what I mean? Like people are going to be telling you no for the rest of your life. It is okay. You're going to either
Mm,
negotiate or
mm,
you're going to accept the no, or
yeah.
you're going to do something else, or the answer is going to be yes, or the answer is going to be not right now. That's just
Yeah.
life. He understands that. Yeah, ask for
Yeah.
what you want to ask for.
And
The
that's so
answer,
important, especially right.
yeah, like the answer is going to be yes, no, or not right now.
Yeah.
And if you feel like there's wiggle room to negotiate, then do that too, because don't just settle for what people think that you should be settling for. Those are all very important.
Hmm. Yeah. And I know one thing that we tell Kobe all the time. Kobe's my godson. All of y'all know that he's my nephew. But we tell him that all the time as well. Um, but especially when it comes to boys and girls, right? Like Kobe might do something and it hurts me. And I'm like, no, Kobe, you need to stop that. And then I'll come back and I'll really say, right, like when a woman says no, it means no. But there are
Mm-hmm.
other opportunities and other times where a no is negotiable. So that's
Mm-hmm.
actually really important for me to think about in terms of right, like being concise, but also,
Mm-hmm.
having balance and understanding, right? Like what's negotiable, what's a boundary, what's a firm no.
Yes.
And just that social awareness is really important. But I do
Yes.
know I said we had a tight hour, y'all. We're gonna bring Tnisha back. We're gonna continue this conversation, of course. Particularly, like I said, as I start raising my little black boy, that's gonna be so important. But
We're
really
so
quickly,
excited to
um,
meet him. We cannot wait. Cannot wait. Cannot wait.
yay, our little Roman baby. We can't wait. But tell listeners, I know everybody fell in love with you today, much as I have. How can they reach out to you, Tanisha, if they have any questions or if they want to connect with you? Where you
Yeah.
at on social media?
So on social media on all platforms, I am T Poe TPOE __, and that is on Instagram, that is on Twitter. I think that's all the social media that I'm on.
You on
I don't
Facebook, but that's for the aunties. Don't even worry about Facebook.
I
Right.
mean, I'm on Facebook, but I've never logged onto Facebook.
Right.
Any emails that need to be sent, like my business email is poplated@gmail.com. My personal email is tnisha.poe@gmail.com. So any of those avenues, I am constantly in communication all the time on any of those. So yes.
Yay. Pro-plated is my favorite. It's the most important. Y'all stay tuned for
A
all
lot.
things that she has coming. I know, right? A lot of people write like Tanisha go viral every other week with something she done made. Um, and it's always delicious. And I got the
What?
benefits and the perks of having first dibs on those things. So let's just wrap up today's episode. You guys stay tuned for more. Please rate and review us, leave a comment, share this podcast. I know you guys are all going to want to tell your friends about Tanisha. And stay tuned for more. Any questions that you have, we're going to do a mailbag episode here soon. If you have any, leave those at theempowerlab@gmail.com and we'll feature your questions. Thank you so much for joining today. I have appreciate, this is just like a regular FaceTime, but I appreciate you sharing your insights and your experiences with our listeners. Hopefully they benefited from this, and that they are more prepared to raise resilient children.
Yes. Thank you so much for having me. It is my pleasure, and I'm always honored.
Yeah,
So
so we'll speak to you soon. We'll have you back on the podcast soon.
thank you.
Bye, guys.